thank you for the video. It was really intense just a moment ago, honestly. Now.
Yeah, lately.
In Kursk then.
In the end? Well, missiles have reached here even closer to the Oktyabrski district. It's about 30 kilometers from here.
Everything.
It was better in Russia. I mean, the protection, the security for tomorrow.
Very intense fighting. This whole battle decided ours. The Russian one.
They say there?
Golgrad. No, it all began with the Battle of Kursk.
Greetings and welcome to another video. I'm currently in Minsk, the capital of Belarus, about to take the train to Kursk and cross the border into Russia. We have an interesting trip to the city known as the site of the largest tank battle of the entire Second World War. Let's go. By the way, don't tell me the Belarusian bill isn't cool. It's really interesting because it looks like it's from Soviet times, right?
Please tell me which one.
Is my car? I don't know. 24.
A total of 10.
As you can see, the train I'm on is gray and red, which means it's Russian, and this one here to my left. This is the color the Belarusian trains have. That's because even though we're taking the train in Belarus, we're going to cross the border into Russia, and the train we're on is from the Russian railways. 27? Look, there's a dining car.
No, Kaliningrad trains don't have them. Did you just buy your ticket?
No, not just now. I bought the ticket yesterday, and...
Why? We don't have coverage, do you?
Yes.
We found him. Let's go.
We're boarding. We're leaving soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we're boarding.
We're boarding.
We almost missed it. This is the seat I got for this trip. So let's put on the sheets and lie down for a while. It's very early in the morning.
And
16 hours left to travel. I'm traveling in Platzkart, my dear. I have the feeling that either I'm getting taller or they're making them shorter. Look how far my feet reach. Have you gone out? Yes, I have.
What time will you arrive? At 12:03 tomorrow.
At what time?
Wow, I just took a 4-hour nap. We just stopped in Smolensk. I have an hour. It's a bit less now, but still the longest stop. I'm going to see if I can buy some supplies, since I haven't bought anything and I don't even have water. Quickly, Smolensk. Although you're probably watching this video out of order, meaning you won't know how I got here because I'll publish the others later. Smolensk is another hero city. As many of you know, there are 12 hero cities in the former Soviet Union for their feats in defending against the Nazi invasion. Smolensk can already be added to my list, even though I'm just passing through, another place I visited. Behind me is the station's main building, and you can still see details on the cornices. Up there, the sickle and hammer. Here, on a small plaque on the facade, you have precisely in the war against the German fascist occupiers from 1941 to 1943. The railway partisans died heroically. Here are the different names. Eternal glory to the heroes. And look here behind me how they transport the cars, the wagons full of cars from Kazakhstan to Otto, made in Kazakhstan. I wonder if it's the distributor of Lada cars made there and shipped to Russia.
a strategic coffee stop at Smolensk station, which is actually quite nice, huh? Yeah, small but with huge columns.
The capitals are very decorated, chandeliers also hanging from the ceiling. And then you can see different paintings that depict everything from the city of Smolensk in ancient times to Lenin, for example. This one here, it's titled Kodogi at Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. It would be something like the Red Walkers. Well, I'm not exactly sure, but look, the Red Walkers. Not the Red Walker, but the Red Walkers with Lenin. rest after the battle, and you can see the Soviet soldiers having a smoke and eating. There's no Coca-Cola left. Do you have the good cola? We're going to get some water.
Yes, how was it?
2 roads to descend. Alright, now we have our survival supplies. At least a couple of sandwiches, a water, and an ice cream, which I'm going to have now. Here you go. Do you want to work as a carriage chief? Or do you want to work for the Russian railway services? Salary from 60,000 rubles a month. I've noticed that on this train. It's just that I don't know if I caught it on camera, but they're just kids. Maybe 16 to 18 years old. That's how it seems to me. The ones who are usually the carriage chiefs are generally older ladies. I've seen a man once or twice, but here most of them are young guys. It's the first time I've seen something like this. Even nearly all the mechanics on board. To celebrate that, I've crossed the border from Belarus into Russia. I bought myself a... Check out this classic ice cream. Plombier, the creamy, typical variety found here in Russia and nearby regions. With a Soviet detail there, Soviet ice cream. Well, this one came out a bit squashed. It usually shouldn't look like this. It should match the picture. More. Rounder, but oh well. To your health.
Greetings.
This is my favorite. Not the chocolate or caramel one, or nothing like that. There aren't many flavors, just 3 or 4, depending on the brand. This one is the most classic, the cream flavor. It's a Soviet-era ice cream. Oh.
Look. An ice cream.
Blini.
There is.
There are some with cottage cheese.
Oh, with
Meat with...
meat.
Yes, with...
No cottage cheese.
No, okay.
All right, thank you. Water, girls, ice cream, kvass, cigarettes, ma'am. And There is, miss. There is. Excuse me.
There is with cottage cheese.
Blini. No, no.
Take here now. There's nothing.
Don't take now. The food here.
It's good, there is.
She.
She only comes in the morning, not until 4.
Only in the morning, yes.
Vera, yes, the woman with the
Hair.
reddish.
And why did you say not to take it? Because
The other one brings, and it's not good. It brings.
it's not good. Yes.
Now it's not worth picking.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, you're welcome. Well, I felt like having some blinis with cottage cheese, but nothing. The girl tells me, have you already seen her? The one who's there in the morning? The one who sells them? The ones who sell them? No, it's not worth it. So nothing. Well, we're in Bryansk. It's already the last big stop, so to speak, before Kursk. I'm sure you can find it on the map. Bryansk has become relevant in the news lately. And as you can see, well, now a lot of people are getting on. Yeah.
I
think it's about 6 hours to get to Kursk. Thank you. The last stop before getting to Kursk is called Kursk-Kievsky. I don't know why. Well, it's just that we're practically at the border, or very close, with Ukraine. And maybe from here there was a line that connected to Kiev. I don't know. Anyway, earlier I couldn't buy the blinis with cottage cheese. And for 80 rubles I bought a salted corn on the cob, which is about 80 euro cents. There, a lady just like those at these stands. A grandma, very nice. This is foolproof. As you can see, it's already getting...
Night, it's getting dark. What a beautiful sky there is today.
I hadn't mentioned it, but the train I'm on is huge, over 20 cars long. I'm in car 24. We're so far back there wasn't enough platform, so we had to go through 3 cars to get out. It's a train that goes from Kaliningrad to Sochi. Just imagine the route it takes. It crosses all of Belarus, then skirts the border with Ukraine, reaches Rostov, and from there goes down to Krasnodar and then Sochi. It's a total of 70 hours.
We have student brigades of inspectors, that is the Russian student organization.
We have many areas.
As inspectors,
Builders, educators, well,
Different fields.
That's why?
You together.
here.
Just like the student organization, yes.
Is
Are you all here in shifts?
no.
We work here specifically. And why don't you go?
As far as I know.
It's a shame. The courses.
Monthly.
We passed them.
We studied. We went.
To the field trip, we passed occupational safety. We went to the...
Field trip.
Then
We passed the exams. And here we are, traveling around the country.
many...
Young people.
Yes, I mean, we have...
The brigade of.
Reviewers in gray uniforms are students from the organization.
You guys are awesome.
You guys are awesome. How old are you?
19. Already 19.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before.
What a morning. As you may have heard, what was sounding were the air raid alarms for a drone or rocket attack. In fact, I just got an air raid alert message on my phone, right? Be careful. I didn't have time to record it tonight, so you'll have to trust me. But I was sleeping, and at 6 in the morning or 5:30, I heard a tremendous explosion. It was very loud. The night silence amplified it. There was an explosion, then car alarms went off. I think it was a drone. I asked around and people said, I didn't notice, but they said it happened, and similar things. They're used to it, that's just how things are here. It's a hot topic. And in general, and in this whole area near the border with Ukraine, quite a few drone attacks usually happen here. And as you've seen, air raid alarms are an everyday thing, and well, quickly, look where I am. What a luxury. It was by chance. I'm in a luxury spa hotel right next to the station. By chance, I mean, because I had booked a hotel at Kursk station, but in Moscow. I hadn't realized I was tired. For 5,000 rubles, I get a luxury 4-star hotel with breakfast included. Look at this bed with a view next to the station, fully equipped. For those who ask about hotels here in Russia, and then the bathroom also very clean and in perfect condition. Another thing I noticed is that a window on the hotel staircase overlooks a kindergarten and daycare center. And you can see a map with the Battle of Kursk. That's in a kindergarten. I imagine it's because of the 80th anniversary of this battle, which was last year's. That's enough introduction here in Kursk. Busy morning, and now we're going to go into more detail about this battle and get to know the city a little. Let's go. After the Soviet victory at Stalingrad in early 1943, the Red Army regained ground and pushed the Germans west. Despite the heavy blow they received at Stalingrad, the German troops managed to defend themselves strategically on the Eastern Front, carrying out a mobile defense. And in the middle of 1943, they prepared to deliver the final blow to the Soviet troops, who were far from their supply lines. After German troops under von Masten captured Kharkov in March 1943, on the Eastern Front, a 250-kilometer bulge developed around Kursk. The Kursk bulge was selected for a pincer attack aimed at encircling and capturing the Red Army in an operation called Citadel. Several factors were decisive in the lead-up to the battle. The Soviet espionage system in Europe, called the Red Orchestra, let them anticipate Nazi plans. Soviet defense preparation was crucial, featuring 3 main and several secondary defensive rings. Packed with fortifications, artillery, and anti-tank mines, the Soviets surprised German troops the night before with an artillery attack that disrupted them. Operation Citadel still proceeded, starting at 5:30 on July 5, 1943. To be continued.
Pilots, quit, pilot.
Goodbye.
That's it. About an hour by train, more or less, maybe a little less. I think about 50 minutes from Kursk. This train is fast and modern, just like the ones in Moscow. We're already in Ponyrim. Here it is, the Ponyrim station. You can see here a plaque dedicated to General, Marshal Rokossovsky. It says, Marshal of the Soviet Union. He was born on December 21, 1896 in a family of railway workers. Next to it are his portrait and bust. I've traveled all the way to Ponyrim, but I still haven't. About 90 kilometers north of Kursk, because this was one of the main points where the counter-offensive was launched. After having repelled the Nazi attack a week later, a little more than a week after holding out on the defensive lines against the assault precisely from the Germans. I took a moment to look at the locomotive I have here, which is on display at this station. You can get an idea of how they were transported and what locomotives were like during World War II. MSK like Moscow, Yelesny Tarozhny, railway workers, and the Soviet Union coat of arms with all the languages, sickle, hammer, planet, and wheat ears. The plaque says it was built in 35 and operated until 96. This steam locomotive until 96. Unfailing durability. I guess it's also because they lack other locomotives. After the fall of the Soviet Union, misery spread throughout the former Soviet Union, and they had to manage as best they could. We also have a fuel tank attached to this locomotive and a car where people would be put to transport them from one place to another. And a little further ahead we have the famous Katyusha, a truck with a bunch of rockets. This one back here, the Katyusha. It was commonly known as Stalin's organ because of the noise it made and also because of its shape, which looked like an organ, like a pipe organ, right? Because of both the shape and sound. This machine gun gives us an idea of what railway transport was like during wartime here on this front. A machine gun designed to shoot down the planes that came to destroy the railway convoys. And now imagine how close the planes would have to fly for them to have to defend themselves with this machine gun. And finally, a small tank on rails designed to defend the entire railway convoy. Here, even on a wall of the station, you can see different, missiles or munitions. The first impression is that all of this revolves around the defense and counterattack of Kursk. Okay, and the reason is that last year, on the occasion of the 80th anniversary of the Battle of Kursk, here in Ponyry, that's why I came, a memorial was opened here that we will now see and learn about. It's a kind of historical tourist attraction. Hello, please tell me, what is the new memorial?
Of
The Battle of Kursk? Is it to the left and straight ahead?
yes, here.
Yes, there.
Is it? You go through and now it's
Beauty.
this one, yes.
The one they built new, yes.
See, the flowers, these.
Young little trees.
And
Did you live here when the battle happened? Did you live here? No.
no.
I don't know.
My parents said that not a single house was left standing in our village. There was a battle in our territory. 4 kilometers away, there was a hill, and you could see Kursk at night.
That was it. These...
Our places are Kursk, Oriol, the Duga, the city.
Ovilishiv?
Very fierce battles. This battle, the whole battle was decided by our people, the Russians.
They say...
Volgograd. No, the battle started in Kursk.
I understand. Thank you very much. After 10 days of heavy fighting, the German offensive ended and the Soviet counteroffensive began. Although the numbers vary depending on the authors consulted, it is estimated that about 800,000 soldiers faced each other on the battlefield. Germany had 2,500 tanks and 1,800 aircraft. The Soviets had nearly 2 million soldiers, 3,400 armored vehicles, and 3,000 aircraft. The Battle of Kursk is often called history's greatest tank battle due to the many armored vehicles involved. Aviation also played a key role. At the same time that the Allies were landing on the shores of Sicily and forcing the Germans to mobilize their troops, the Soviets used attrition tactics to resist the German attack, then quickly launched a counter-offensive to capture Oriol in the north and Belgorod in the south, which would later allow them to continue advancing toward Kharkov and the Donbass. In 3 months, the Soviets kept the offensive until they captured Berlin. And Operation Citadel would thus become the first German offensive operation that was stopped before breaking through enemy defenses. Right in front of the station, just a few meters away, you have the first major memorial, built with the eternal flame, the flowers here. as a sign of respect. And the soldiers? Well, some fall in, others proclaiming victory, another armed, and many tombstones in memory of the fallen soldiers. A whole square. Those marked with a star are heroes of the Soviet Union. As you can see, a multitude of names are written on all the tombstones. And look how interesting. Here you have the participants from the Republic of Ingushetia in the Battle of Kursk. As you can see, it's a Muslim republic bordering Chechnya, known for its unique beauty and rich history. And here you can see, again, in this corridor, in this street that comes out of the memorial, the posters with the different high-ranking Soviet officials. Marshal Zhukov and, of course, Stalin here and others. Khrushchev, Barinov. Here, you can see precisely this Kursk salient, Poniry, which was still in territory controlled by the Soviets, and Orel and Bryansk, which was the first part of the Soviet counterattack. Yeah, since in the south there were the SS and the Soviets had suffered more damage. In the Belgorod area and, well, not in the Belgorod and Kharkov area, but that's where the Nazis came from. They chose to drive them out from the north first since they were more exhausted there. The south had suffered more. And the first cities to be recovered from this salient and turn it into a straight line were precisely Oriol and then Bryansk. Later on, they would recover Belgorod and Kharkov in the Donbass basin. And of course, an armored vehicle couldn't be missing from this memorial. In this case, it's the self-propelled artillery ISU-152. One striking thing about the Battle of Kursk is the number of types of armored vehicles there were. Of course, the most famous ones are the Tigers on the German side or the Soviet T-34s, each one with its own features and specifications, designed for a specific purpose. This was one of those you could find in that battle. Look at what I'm telling you. This one even had a shovel on the back end. On top, like some kind of benches to carry units besides those who would go inside. Among some of the armored vehicles that could be seen on the battlefield were the German Panzer II light tank, the Panzer II-I medium tank, and the Panzer IV. They waited to attack until the 5 new Panzers arrived. Designed to counter the Soviet T-34, the heavy Tiger 6 tanks, as well as the Elephant tank destroyers. Meanwhile, the Soviets had the well-known T-34 medium tank, the T-70 light tank, and the Klim Voroshilov. One heavy tank. They also had the Samochodnaya Ustanovka 76 and Samochodnaya Ustanovka 122 self-propelled artillery models. I'm sure those of you who know about World War II history are aware that the Battle of Kursk is one of the most controversial. It wasn't talked about much until the 1950s or 1960s, especially on the western side, in Germany, in England, and in the United States. And that gap was filled by Soviet historians and memoirists. It was more advanced in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and now too. Lately, when they are publishing statistical studies of the battle from the German side, in which many of the myths that were created around this battle are being refuted. Specifically, the most controversial of all is Prokhorovka, the Battle of Prokhorovka, in which, well, in Soviet sources it was said, depending on the author, but it was said that they had destroyed up to 300 or 400 German tanks that were burning on the battlefield in a single day. And from the German side, they reduced it to 5. That's nowadays, right? Once they've reviewed it, the thing is, German historians, well, maybe they don't elevate that battle to an epic triumph. Not specifically the one at Prokhorovka, but they say it was more like a technical draw. They even call it a catastrophe on that day at Prokhorovka, since they focus on a day that, from what I've read, well, many Soviet tanks counterattacked the Germans and fell into a ditch they themselves had dug, which belonged to the Soviet army, and it seems that almost 200 Soviet tanks perished and were rendered useless there. The reality is that the Soviets, even though they may have made that small mistake, later crushed the Germans. Of course, with much more care and caution, waiting to reorganize better in order to launch more effective counterattacks. There, In Prokhorovka, you can find another memorial with a museum included, and if you're interested, you can visit it as well. They have several tanks on display and talk about this battle. Specifically, as I've already told you, it depends on which version you hear, you'll see one thing or another. Look, I'm on my way to the memorial. What a bunch of zucchinis. Is this it? Oh my goodness. I don't know. Yeah, pumpkin, I'd say. That's better. No, not zucchinis, but pumpkins. You have a giant vegetable garden here in these houses. All this land, just so you get an idea, is flat. There are just a few small elevations. But what I mean is that there are no big mountains or large hills. It's flat, and the vegetation you see would look a lot like... Come on, it's identical, because right now I'm at the beginning of August, just like it would have been during the Battle of Kursk. This is what it would look like with these various forest belts, all kinds of undergrowth, some houses and villages abandoned or on fire. As Grandma said, I'm walking here just like this. It would look a lot like what the soldiers would have found back then. Here it is, the T-34, the quintessential Soviet tank of the Great Patriotic War, to the tank heroes. The inscription says on a pedestal. And there, in the background, where I'm heading, is the memorial to the Battle of Kursk, here in Ponyri, an impressive statue over 12 meters tall. I'm not sure if you can hear it, but those are air raid sirens again. They've been sending me messages all day, and wherever I go, he says there's a rocket attack in the Kursk Oblast. They say to be careful. In fact, later I checked a Telegram channel I have, which is dedicated to these kinds of things between wars. I saw that early this morning. What I heard, the explosion I heard, was an incursion by Ukrainian soldiers in the Kursk Oblast, where I am. Here you have this impressive statue, which depicts a Soviet soldier separating two huge pieces of what I think, well, it could be steel. And like the shadow, right, the silhouette of the tanks. The term steel against steel has often been used to describe this battle, due to the large number of tanks and armored vehicles that faced each other. And here, next to the main monument, you also have newspaper clippings from Pravda, the quintessential Soviet newspaper, with different milestones that were achieved throughout the war. For example, here this one says, "Armored vehicles in wise hands." And you have the story of this soldier, Alexander Samosenko, who wasn't even 19 years old and had already fought in the war between the Finns and the Soviets. It says he fought from the very first day. Here's another one, for example, wounded but not broken. Like a Red Army soldier killed 300 Germans. Yet specifically, Tosi talks about Yakov Studienikov, or this one, the first victory of Ivan Kozedov, an aviator. Here they give the details of his victory. As you see, it's all complete, including this part. Here, in the middle of the road, we find a plaque in memory of another hero of the Soviet Union we saw earlier. On August 7th, 1943, as a member of the Soviet Army, he neutralized 8 assault tanks and destroyed 4 tanks, and died heroically in the town of Gorloye. Sergeant Alexei Dmitrievich Sapunov, 1921, 1943, and as expected, here at Ponyri Station, the decoration follows the theme of the Battle of Kursk. And you have, for example, July 15th, the Soviet army switches to the counteroffensive. August 23rd, the liberation of the city of Kharkov. August 5th, the liberation of the cities of Belgorod and Oral. July 5th marks the beginning of the defensive operation. There's even a Hall of Military Glory in this station, and that's because it played a fundamental role. Like most of the towns here, in the Battle of Kursk during the counteroffensive, this station specifically, that's why the monument was built over there near here, and that's why there's such praise for the defense and the counterattack at Kursk here at this station. Look at this painting. Here you can see a Soviet soldier practically dragging a tank crewman with the rest of the tanks destroyed. And look how clearly you can see on this map in the station hall the 3 main defensive rings they had around the city of Kursk, and that protected the salient, right? as it's known in military terms, this salient. The red area is where the Soviet army was, and the gray area is the Nazi, the German. And you can see the details of the battalions, the divisions, their names, and the movements they made, as well as the date and the type of defense according to each ring. You can also see all the towns in detail. And up there, Poniri, you can see that the Germans entered there, here towards Poniri, and below, where they entered the most, they advanced up to 30 kilometers. They reached Kochetovka and other towns around there. These 3 defensive rings were equipped with anti-tank obstacles, barbed wire fences, mines, buried tanks, buried artillery, anti-tank ditches. And also a very curious thing is that the Nazi engineers couldn't use the mine detector because the Soviets scattered iron screws all over the field, and they had to use rods to remove the mines one by one, which made their work much more difficult and gave the Soviets more time. And even so, with all those defenses, the Germans managed to break through, advancing up to a maximum of 30 kilometers, which is still amazing. That shows us once again the military potential the Germans had at that time, the potential and the superiority. If I remember correctly, in this Battle of Kursk, just to give you an idea of the German superiority, the ratio of casualties between one side and the other was 6-1. More or less, which is the general trend that was maintained throughout the entire conflict.
Only now have they begun bombing us much more heavily.
It wasn't like that before, and now...
It didn't happen before. Literally 2 weeks ago this wasn't happening.
Well...
There were attacks near the border, but here...
They've started now, yes, in the last...
Recently they've started bombing even in Kursk.
Now it's for real, back to Kursk. As you can see, I'm in another car, less modern. These are the classic old Russian trains, the ones you've seen, the ones that go around Moscow. The one I came here on.
What's the situation today? I'm in Poniri.
And
Yes, there was also an alarm.
it's still going on, but
The Ukrainians, yes,
they crossed the border
a few meters.
and launched rockets.
Yes, in several places nearby.
And how far is that?
How many kilometers from here? 100?
100,
100, you say?
They started at 5 in the morning. I have a friend whose son-in-law serves there. Rockets have reached the Oktyabrski district, about 30 kilometers away, right? 25 of our men have died. Bryansk, Kursk, and Belgorod provinces are being attacked.
And now school is starting in a few weeks.
Yes, in just 3 weeks.
And what do you miss the most? From the Soviet Union? Comparing everything.
Everything was much better. Everything. I mean the protection, the security for the future.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have to worry about anything. Neither me nor my parents. I got in. I studied. Assigned a job, you worked and lived.
Were your parents here in Kursk when everything happened? The Battle of Kursk?
My father at that time, he was born in 39, so he would have been 4 years old.
4 years old. And my mother?
She served in the military, born in 42.
Yes.
My grandmother was a grandmother, and my other grandfather. Both of my grandfathers died in Kursk.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, goodbye.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye. I just arrived at the place I wanted to show you as the grand finale. Although the Battle of Kursk didn't actually take place here, in the center of the city of Kursk, where I am now, you'll find one of the most well-known memorials. It's on this avenue, on Victory Avenue, or the Avenue of the Victors. You have all kinds of armored vehicles and tanks, as well as artillery pieces that were used in that battle. And it seems that not only the ones used in that battle, but you also have some more modern ones. For example, this T-62 is from the late 1950s and was operational until the 1970s, according to what it says here. Well, I just came to record the video here in Kursk when they made an incursion at the border. And they're still trying to repel the Ukrainian soldiers from the Russian side. Also, on the facades of the buildings on this avenue, for the 80th anniversary of the battle, there are a lot of posters. Exactly for that reason, July 5 to August 23, 1943. Heroes of the motherland, all kinds of images, right? With the famous salient and the Soviet counterattack, here we really have a section entirely dedicated to the artillery pieces and armored vehicles from that battle, right? We have the famous Katyusha. Here's another piece of artillery. As you can see, all the children are playing. And there is the inscription, "For the homeland, for our mothers." On this 85mm piece of artillery, here they have Marshal Zhukov, a statue in his honor, with binoculars, surveying the front, probably looking at his troops. And here this avenue ends, also with a kind of small obelisk, with the coat of arms of the Russian Federation. To wrap up this walk along the avenue here in Kursk, you have this impressive triumphal arch, which can also be found in other cities like Moscow, right? In honor of the victory in the Great Patriotic War. Already back at Kursk station after this day. Visiting key sites from the Battle of Kursk in World War II during the Great Patriotic War. I'm having dinner before heading back to Moscow. A Russian steak wrapped in bread, like a meat bun, with green tea. And now I'll have it with this poppy seed bun, something very typical around here. I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a video I've been wanting to make for a long time, because of these historical military videos like the one about Stalingrad, the Battle of Kursk, right? Because of the epicness of the battles, and as you may have seen, well, the opportunity came up because this company contacted me to promote their game, right? About tanks. I thought it fit really well with the story of the biggest tank battle in all of history. I'd like to add a couple of words to this. As you've also seen throughout the video, we've come across a lot of air raid alarms. Throughout the day, I've realized why there were attacks nearby in this region. This reminds me, and I'm sure it reminds many of you as well, we don't need to explain it much, that war is not a game. I'm not going to get into more debates, but I would like to leave this final note. As I always say, cheers. See you next time, subtitled by Jay. Encoil. Bye. As you can see, this station is full of history. Press. Here we go. Strong start. Option. At least it's cool. Cheers. Aren't these little caps satisfying?
Thank you.
Thank you. Without a doubt, out of all the jobs they gave him, these are the biggest and most impressive.